So to start the practical session, as Azadeh mentioned, you will have been sent a link to the Google Drive. And in the Google Drive, we have several folders and files. Here in the base of the Google Drive, we have installation instructions. Hopefully, if you were going to participate in the practical, you will have installed it already. But if you haven't, that's fine. There are instructions to do that later. We also have in this folder the tutorials and instructions. So we have two tutorials. One is a detailed tutorial, which is what I'm going to be going through now. And one is a quick reference guide, which is really useful if you don't really want to always be using a 30-page tutorial guide and you want to see some frequently asked questions. We also have the same things in French in this folder here. We then have this folder here, which is quite crucial to the practical session, which is the QGIS files. So we have put two sets of QGIS files in. We have some South Asia data here and some data from Zimbabwe here. Inside each of them, we have boundary data and we have some historical feature shapefile. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be running through the beginner tutorial. And you probably want to watch this, and then in the breakout rooms later, you can try these steps yourself, and you will have a smaller group and an instructor there to help you if you have any questions or if you get stuck with anything. Okay, so yeah, just to say also is with this data, what I did was I just clicked here and I downloaded the whole folder and then saved it into my computer in a specific folder I've made for this workshop. So it's quite good when you're using GIS, especially when you get more into it, is to be good at kind of file and folder management, because it creates, GIS system creates a lot of different files. And knowing which are the correct ones and where they are is really useful. So it's quite good to, whenever you're doing a project, have a project folder for that. So I've created my own one here called practical session. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we are going to open QGIS. And to do that, I'll click on the Windows button here and I'll just start typing QGIS. You can see I actually have two versions installed. So I'm just going to use the top one, which is 3.40.4. It sometimes takes a bit of a while to open. It's actually opening on the other screen I have that you can't see. So when it's opened, I'll move it across. As is typical when you're trying to show something, it's taking ages, ages to load.
Exactly, it happens, right?
I've opened it so many times this morning in the chat, and it's
Will
fine.
open.
But when I'm trying to show it, it's actually not loading. So I have, luckily I thought about that, and I have one already open. So hopefully you don't have that problem. But okay, here we go. So when QGIS has loaded, you will initially see this screen. The first thing I'm going to show before I talk about the home screen is how to change the language, because I know there's also French speakers in this workshop, so you may want to put it into French, or you may want to use QGIS in another language. So if you go to settings at the top and options, then a new window opens, and if you go up to general, there's a setting at the top which is called override system locale. If you click on that, the first option here is user interface translation. So QGIS has been translated into all these languages. I think there's about 30 when I look at it. So for example, if you wanted to use QGIS in French, you'd click on French. I'm not going to do that because I'd like to use it in English, but if you'd like to, you can click on French and then click OK. and you'd have to restart QGIS. And when it opens again, all the settings will be in the different language. Okay, so the first thing to know when looking at QGIS is to familiarize yourself with the interface. And Arnal showed this in his presentation as well, but I have a very similar diagram, which I have here. Which is kind of a snip I've taken of the QGIS interface. There's essentially 7 different parts of the QGIS interface, and you will use all of them as you get more into using QGIS. First part at the top is the taskbar, and this is like any other program in Windows. From here, you can load, save, you can see properties of the QGIS project, you can open plugins, you can look at some options to do with vector and raster data. It's essentially a link to any tasks you might want to do in QGIS. Secondly, you have here in green, you have the toolbars. So these are basically quick links to options that you will want to use in QGIS, so, such as, again, saving, opening, zooming in, zooming out. And you can add different toolbars. When you get more into QGIS, you can add different icons to your toolbars for things that you might want to use more often. The third thing you can see on the left here is the browser panel. And the browser panel, this gives you quick access. This is number 3, browser panel, quick access to folders on your computer. And it's useful for looking for files that you might want to interact with on your map. Number 4, we have the layers list, and this is kind of really important. And as I said in the presentation, we've looked at before, the layering of the data is what really makes GIS a powerful tool. And in here is, once you've loaded the data, this is where you can see what data you have loaded. And it acts in, the way you look at it is, I guess, how you'd imagine layers of a cake. So things at the bottom of the cake are at the bottom, and if you look at it from a bird's eye view, you won't be able to see them, and you'll be able to see things that are at the top. So you layer, how you see things in the layers is how you then see them on the map canvas. So number 5 is the map canvas, and this is where the map itself is displayed, and where the layers you've loaded in the layers list are shown. And this is where you can interact with the data that you've loaded. Number 6, right down the bottom in light blue, this is the status bar. And this shows you information about your map. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, that is the coordinate reference system. We also have scale, so how zoomed in you are to the map. And then you can see where it says coordinates there, that is showing the location of where your mouse is when you're on the map canvas. And finally, number 7, this is the processing toolbox. We're not going to do any processing today, but this is where there are lots of tools that you can use to manipulate and analyze your data that you have loaded into the layers list. Okay, that. Okay, so now we have a basic idea of the layout of QGIS, and it might look a bit complicated, but the more you use it, the more you get used to what you're seeing and what all the tools do and where you should be looking to do different things. So what we're going to do is, for this practical, first we're going to start a new project. So if I click here and start a new project, which I've already done, I don't want to save the current project. We started a new project, and then we want to first save our new project when there's nothing in it. So I'm going to go to project at the top and save as. And this will open up.
Do you know what she did? Calabash, Igba.
This will open up your computer's folder structure, and you can then save your project. And I'm just going to call this practical. Practical 1, and click save. Then we can see that in our QGIS we now are in practical 1. So anything we add to the layers list, add to the layers section, and to our map, we can then save up here and it will save that to this project. So what I'm going to do is first is I'm going to go down here to the coordinate reference system section, which is this bottom right section which says EPSG 4326. And each coordinate reference system, I said there's a lot of them, they have a numbered code. So you can see down there that that means my project is in coordinate reference 4326, which, as we can see here, hopefully the writing's not too small. I can see it's quite small on my screen. So we can see that the ID 4326 relates to the coordinate reference system WGS 84. And we can see here in this second box that there's a lot of different coordinate reference systems within QGIS. Most of them, 99.9%, you will never use because some can be so specific. But the one we have ours set to, 4326, you can see in this picture here that the entire world is highlighted in red box. And what that means is it's a global coordinate reference system and it's fairly good for the entire world. It means it's not absolutely perfect for everywhere in the world, but it is fairly good for the entire world. So when you're creating maps on a large scale, using a global coordinate reference system is a good idea. There are other coordinate reference systems we could use, but because this is a beginner session, we know that 4326 coordinate reference system is a standard latitude, longitude global coordinate reference system that's used by GPS and most web maps. So for this, it's a good one to use to understand the simple structure of GIS. We can see there's more local coordinate reference systems. For example, here, I can see the British National Grid, which you can see there's now a red line highlighted around the UK. And what that means is this is particularly good for this area of the world. So if we were going to be just working in the UK, it'd probably be good to use British National Grid. Therefore, distances, areas would be more correct. And you can have a look at these when you want to start your own project and decide which is best for your location. But today we're going to be working with 4326. So I'll click apply and click OK. And then we can see which one we're using down in the bottom right-hand corner here, 4326. So next, our GIS looks quite boring at the moment. We don't have anything loaded. So what we're going to do is we want to load a base map, and that's so we can help position ourselves in the world. And to do that, we're going to use a plugin. So if I go up to the plugins section up here and click manage and install plugins, a window should open, it does open here. And you can see here, if we click all on the left, we can see all the available plugins for us to download from the QGIS repository. You can also create your own plugin and install it from a zip file, but that's a lot more advanced. So I want to install the plugin called Quick Map Services. So if you start typing Quick Map, you should then see Quick Map Services. And this is an easy plugin to add base maps and geo services. I've already installed this, so there isn't an option for me to install, but you should see just here, when you search for it, there's an option to click install. So you'll install it and it'll install very quickly because the plugins are quite quick to install. When it's installed, you'll be able to see that, where it is at. Yes, under the web option in the taskbar, you can see Quick Map Services, and there are quite a lot of options here. It has also added two different icons to our taskbar here. We have Quick Map Services and Search Quick Map Services. If we click on this icon here for Quick Map Services and go down to Settings, and this is quite important to be able to actually get the maps, it'll open the settings for this plugin. We go to More Services, and there's the only button in More Services which says Get Contributed Pack. And what that means is it's downloading the maps that you will then be able to use as base maps. You click on that, and it says the latest version was successfully downloaded. Click OK. Click OK again. And then when I go back on the icon, I then have all these options for different base maps that we can load. We can see base maps from Google, from Esri, from Bing, the United States Geological Society survey, sorry, OpenStreetMap. So we can choose one that we want to use. So I'm going to load, to start with, Google and Google Satellite. When I click on that, we can then see that the image of the Earth has been loaded. Also, interestingly, because this Google Satellite is in a different coordinate reference system, and it's the only thing loaded, it has changed our project coordinate reference system. So I don't want to use 3857 at the moment. So I will click back on my coordinate reference systems and change it back to number 4326. Then I'll click OK. And you can see that the Earth has kind of changed shape now. And that's because of how I was talking about how coordinate reference systems are projected. Okay, so now we have our base map loaded. We want to have a look around it to explore it. There's some options at the top here. You can see there's a hand. When the hand is clicked, that pans the map. So if I do a left click on the map and hold that left click, I can then move my mouse and that's moving me around the map. There's also a zoom in and a zoom out button. So if I want to zoom in, I'll click on the plus arrow, and let's say I want to zoom into the UK. I can click on the UK with my left click and I'll slowly be zooming into the UK. If I want to zoom back out, I can use the minus button. If I want to zoom full, so to show the full of the data that we have, I can click zoom full. So I'll click that now, and that'll take me back to the Earth. If you want to zoom in faster than I've just shown, you can left click near to where you want to zoom into, and you hold that left click down, and you can draw a little box. There's a little blue box being drawn around. And whatever you draw that box to, when you let go, that is where your map is going to zoom to. And we can see at the bottom here in the coordinate bar, as I move my mouse around, we can see the coordinates of that location. So that's what I was talking about earlier, the coordinates within the reference system. So another thing we might want to do when looking at the base map is to measure an area. So say I want to measure the distance between Cambridge and London. I can't actually see, I know it's somewhere around here, but I can't see that. So maybe I want to load a base map that tells me where these cities are. So I go back to my quick map services, I'll go to Google and I will go to Google Hybrid. And you can see that this has now added another layer to my layers panel. So I have Google Satellite at the top and Google Hybrid below. And it doesn't look like there's any difference here on the map canvas. And that is because Google Satellite is at the top of my layers list. And so that is the thing we can see on the top. So I can't see Google Hybrid at the moment. There's a tick box here, and that's whether we want to see or not see that layer in our map canvas. So if I untick Google Satellite, we are then able to see Google Hybrid below. And on Google Hybrid, this has place names. So I can now see Cambridge and London are here. So I'll zoom into Cambridge and London, and it's actually changed it a bit. I can see Cambridge is here and London is here. So now we can now use another tool from our icons, which is the measurement tool. So the measurement tool is this one that looks a bit like a ruler and a scale bar. So if I click on measure line, a box comes up, and that is where it will show your measurements. So I probably want to measure in kilometers, not meters. And you can now see that my cursor has changed to a cross. So if I want to measure the straight line distance, I can left click on Cambridge and I start drawing a line, and then left click again on London. And you can see that that is 78 kilometers, and that is the distance. So that's just a very simple thing you can do if you just load a base map. You can then continue on the measurement. So then say you want to go somewhere else, like to Peterborough, you can then left click again, and you now can see you have two lines. So that'll tell you the total distance of those two lines. If I want to stop measuring, I will right click, and you can see the line stops drawing. And I can see 78 kilometers is my first segment, 119 kilometers is my second segment, and 197 kilometers in total. As I said before, if you really want to get a true accurate measurement of something, a line or an area, you have to use the correct geographic coordinate reference system. So you'd want to change this maybe to one that is specific to the UK, and then you'd be able to measure very, very accurately. But for this example, as I said, we're going to continue using 4326, the global coordinate reference system. Okay, so now and when you're doing this, by the way, you can play around and load different base maps that might be of interest. So you might want to load tectonic plates base map, or you might want to look at a terrain base map so you can see the terrain and things like that. That's just something you can do. So you can flick those on and off. If I've loaded too many, I can remove a layer by right-clicking on the layer and clicking remove layer. That removes it from my layers panel. So I'm now going to just zoom back full to the Earth again using the zoom out button. So the next section is what we want to do is on page 7 of the instruction manual, and this is adding data to QGIS. So as we saw in the previous presentations and what I talked about, data is added as layers. And you may be wondering where we can get this data from. This is often a question. There's lots of data provided freely available online. It's important to make sure that the data you're using is kind of accurate, because anyone can put data online. And in the document, the tutorial document, on page 7, we have links to 5 different websites where you can download different types of data. So OpenStreetMap, you can download lots of data about locational features, or you might want to download natural earth data. But we have provided you with some data, and I think the data that we have downloaded and provided you with is from this website called GADM, and also from OpenStreetMap. So also in the tutorial document, there is some instructions on how to download this data from the GADM website. And also there are instructions on how to download the data from the Humanitarian Data Exchange website, which is also a really good website for getting administrative data as shapefiles. But we're going to skip down to number 3, which is using pre-download data. So as I showed earlier, the data that we've provided you is here in the GIS files section, and I'm going to be using the South Asia data for this tutorial, but there's also data from Zimbabwe. So if I double click on the South Asia data, you can see there's 2 folders in here: boundary data and historical map, historical feature shapefile data. If I double click on boundary data, we can see that there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 files here called Punjab and Sindh. But all 5 of them have different file types. And I mentioned earlier that with a shapefile, this is usually made up of at least 4 files, each holding different information about that shapefile. And this is an example of a shapefile. Again, you can't use this directly from Google Earth, from Google Drive. You have to download it, as I showed you earlier. So that's what I've done. I've downloaded it here in GIS files, South Asia data, boundary data, and you can see here are those files on my PC. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add the polygon vector district boundary data to QGIS, which is this. In the boundary data, it's the boundaries for Punjab and the districts in Punjab and Sindh. So to do that, there's a few ways in which you can do it. But I'm going to show you like the most official way, which is in QGIS, if you click on the Open Data Source Manager button, or you can also access this through layers, there, Data Source Manager, it's exactly the same option, just a different way to access it. So if I click on that, a box will open. And you can see down the left side, there's options to add loads of different types of data. So there's vector data here, raster data here. And they're the 2 main types of data that I talked about. There's also lots of other different data types, which you may start using when you when you are more advanced in QGIS. So I'm going to click on vector data, and then in the vector data source, I will click here, and this will take me to my folder structure. So I want to find self-leisure data, boundary data. If you click down here, you can then select Esri shapefile, and it will just show the actual main shapefile file, because that is the one you want to add. I'll click on that. So it's the one that has the suffix of SHP for shape. Click open, and then click add. And you can see that this has been added to my layers panel. It's actually been added as the second layer down. So I want to rearrange that, because I want this to be at the top. And the reason for that is because I want to be displaying the districts above my map of the Earth. So I can left click on this, hold the left click, and drag it up one section. And you can see a black line appears. I want that black line to be above, so it's at the top. Now I let go, and I've rearranged my layers. I now want to zoom to that layer. So I left click on the layer that I've just added, then right click, and there's an option here, zoom to layer. If I click that, it'll zoom the map canvas in to that data that I've just added. You can see there's the tick box on the left. I can turn that off if I don't want to see it anymore. I can turn it back on if I do want to see it. You can see that this polygon shapefile is made up of many individual features. If I want to see how many features there are, I can right click on the shapefile, and here there's an option saying show feature count. So I can now see this 65 has appeared. That means that there are 65 individual features, so 65 districts within my shapefile. I'm now going to add my other data, which is the point shapefile. So the same again, I'm going to open the data source manager, stay on vector, open the vector data set. This time I'm going to go to historic feature shapefile, select historic features, .shape, and click open and click add. And now you can see in the layers panel, I now have the historical feature points added, which you can also see have appeared on top of the polygon shapefile. If I drag that below, you can see it disappears, and that's because it's below in the layers list. But we want that on top because it's the smallest type of data, and that is good to display over the top of our polygon shapefile. So we've now loaded all the data. We talked a lot about attributes and the information part that comes with the geographic data. If I want to view this, there are a few ways I can do this. So I have the options at the top. Okay, so there's a button here which is the Identify Features button. If I click on that, I can then click on the shapefile I want to identify features for, which is Punjab and Sindh, and say I want to see which feature this is. I can then left click on that feature. You can see it's highlighted red, and a box will open, and this tells me the information that is behind that feature in the shapefile. So we can see that the district is Bahawalpur, and the division is also Bahawalpur, and the province is Punjab, and the country is Pakistan. If I click on another one, I can see more information about that. So this is Dera Ghazi Khan, and Dera Ghazi Khan in Punjab as well. When we have this attribute data, we might want to see it all together. So not just for every individual section of the shapefile, but all together. And to do that, we right-click on the layer and we open the attribute table. And what this does is it opens a table just a bit like Excel that has information about all of the features. So you can see all of the 65 features are here, and we can look at all of these together. So we can see that number 3 is the district. So there's loads of different districts. Number 2 is the division. So several districts are within the same division. So 3 are within Bahawalpur, 5 within Dera Ghazi Khan. And then we can see that several of the divisions are inside number 1, which is the province, which we have Punjab and Sindh here. So as we've shown with other maps, we can use this attribute data to symbolize the map that we're looking at. And what we're going to do is at the moment, it's all symbolized by one color, which is red with a black outline. We want to symbolize that by a category. So I'm going to click on properties, and this opens up information about the layer, so about Punjab and Sindh layer. If I go to symbology, we can see this is how we're displaying this data. I don't want to use a single symbol because what I want to do is I want to show by color whether the district is in Punjab or whether it's in Sindh. So I click at the top here and I go to categorize. And that means we're going to categorize the colors by the attribute information. In value, I choose which field I want this to be categorized by. And I said I wanted to do this by province, which I saw was name 1. I think it's LL name 1. Just check. No, just name 1. So I go back, properties, categorized, value, name 1. And then I can click classify here, and it reads all the different values that are in that field in my in this layer. And we can see there's Punjab and Sindh, and it's going to color every district that's in Punjab as pink and every district that's in Sindh as yellow, and all others will be green. There aren't all others, but QGIS always gives you this option. So I click apply and I click OK, and now you can see easily by looking at the map which of these districts are in Punjab and which are in Sindh. We can also see the numbers, so there are 38 in Punjab and 27 in Sindh. So I can do the same for the point layer as well. Just to say that for the polygon layer, there are loads of different options you can do with changing the symbols. You may not want to have it fully colored in the middle. You want it colored around the edge. You may want it colored by, not by province, but by division. So that could be going to name 2 and reclassifying it and clicking apply, and then we can see it by division, the different districts by division. But I'm going to leave it as province. Click OK. Now I'm going to look at the point feature file. So I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to zoom to this layer because I know it's only around this specific part of Punjab. I'm going to turn off the back, the Punjab and Sindh layer so I can just have a look at these. And we can see if we open up the attribute table for the point features, we can see here there's completely different attributes about this data. There are 200 point features, and we can see in this this field that's called historic, what type of historical feature it is. So whether it's a monument, whether it's a tomb, whether it's a shrine, and then here in name, quite a lot of them also have a name. If I click on the top of the field, it'll sort that field by alphabetical order, just so it makes it easier to have a look. So I see there's some castles, some archaeological sites, some city gates, and you can see the names. So what I think would be useful was if we classify how it looks by what type of historic site it is. So I'll exit this, and similar to the polygon, I right-click, go to properties. At the top, instead of single symbol, I want a categorized symbol, and the value, I want to categorize it by historic. I'll then click classify, and it finds all the different types of historic sites and gives them all a different colored symbol. If we don't like that color, you can double click on it, and you can change the color for that specific symbol if you want to. So I'm then going to click OK, and you can now see that all of these sites are classified by what type of site they are. In the layers panel, there's an arrow at the left here, which if I click on it, it drops down and it shows me the legend for all of these different sites. So we can see that City Gate is orange, Fort is yellow. And we can zoom in and out and we can see how these points interact with the base map. I'm going to turn off the hybrid base map and I'm going to put the satellite base map on just to make it a bit cleaner. The last thing I'm going to quickly do is we may not want to see all these features. So I may just want to see, for example, I may just want to see City Gate. So I can turn off all the other features. And now I can see that I just have these orange city gates, which is around in Lahore. I may want to know what these city gates are when looking at the map, so I can quickly add a label to do that. So if I right click again, go on properties, and then at the side click on labels, I can then select to have a single label. But again, the value, I want it to show the name. So I want it to show the name of that point. This is all in the guide as well, how you might want to structure the labels. But I want to give it text here, and I want to give it a buffer, and a buffer just draws a white line around the text. With a call out, I want it to have a line pointing at the feature with the name coming off it. So I want the minimum length to be, let's say, 3 millimeters. And the placement. So you can really just play around with this. If I click apply, after I've selected all these, you can now see that it has added the names of these features to the different points. So this is just a good example of how you can display your data using the attribute data that is provided with the geographic data. And that is something that someone could make a map with, maybe in tourism, if they want to show a map about where the gates are for people who are visiting Lahore. This is something you can do like that. Okay, I think that is all I am going to explain in this beginner introduction. So we've added data, we've looked at the attributes data associated with this different type of data, and we have created a map based on the different attributes that are within the data. So as a day, I think I will pass.
Thanks very much, Jack. Yes, you've covered everything beautifully. Thank you.